Hello and welcome to the creaking salt-soaked tables of the Brazen Hydra pub in Bilgewater. We're your hosts, Ent Grove and
Conquest?
and today we'll be sharing a pint and talking all things Runeterra and beyond. And so there's a couple of things we're going to talk about today. I think, I don't know if anyone's heard of Helldivers. I'm pretty sure you have. Most people have. We're going to talk about what this could mean for the Riot team and the Riot MMO, because I think they're looking right. There's no way they're putting on the blinders. They're looking at what's going on in the market. They're looking at World of Warcraft, which I'm really not following too much anymore. And we'll talk a little bit about Riot Games Action RPG, which might include these features and more in terms of multiplayer and third person. And so that's something we would definitely want to talk about. We'll talk about the Riot MMO in general and just kind of go on a tangent. But the first thing that I want to talk about a little bit is Helldivers. You've heard of Helldivers, right, Conquest?
I have. I have heard about Helldivers a little bit. I haven't looked too much into it myself because I'm not a shooter type of guy for the most part. But it's kind of hard not to hear about it at this point. It's really blown up. It's definitely a unique game of its own that we've never seen before. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. So a little bit about Helldivers for anyone who's not in the loop. Helldivers is basically this game where you have your ship and you kind of fly around to different planets, and there's not it's not like separate factions. Everyone's on the same team, but you're out pushing these worlds and you're fighting against AI. So there's different kinds of AIs. There's like the aliens and then there's the robots, and they kind of are pushing back, and people have to work together to push back these people, these like whatever they are, aliens or robots, it depends, and push them back and kind of take over these outside planets. But it feels like almost like an open world thing. And there's two things that I want to touch on. One is the feeling of player housing in that they have their ship where they're kind of traveling around, and two, the open world like battling feeling that they're getting from this game where everyone feels like they're on the same side and you're advancing together, and there's like that sense of camaraderie and advancement and the ever-changing world, right? Because the world is changing based on what the players do. If players aren't doing anything, then the enemy's advancing, and if you're doing something, you have to like coordinate a little bit more and push into harder and harder planets.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the Riot team should definitely look at that and try to incorporate some pieces of it into the Riot MMO, because it's successful and it's successful for a reason.
I completely agree. It's one of those things where we've been talking about it for a while, the idea of not being afraid to force the player out of their comfort zone. I definitely think that's what Helldivers does and why it's so successful, is that it's a pretty merciless game, right? You can lose territory that you just can't be in anymore. And same with the idea of gaining territory and exploring like new places that you're never really used to. So Helldivers comes off this idea that like it's not putting the player first in all of the right ways, you know?
Yes,
and I wish more MMOs did
exactly.
that. They should not be afraid
Oh
to
man, we need to go
screw the
back to the
player
images
over.
today too.
Oh, we
Yes, that's
do.
the main thing in Helldivers is you are like, you're not Master Chief, you know, you're just you're a soldier. You know, you're
Yeah.
just a Spartan. That's it. It
Yep.
feels very very Halo Reachy.
Halo Reach, like, yeah, you're a Spartan, but guess what? Everyone else is. So, like, everyone's dying, so it's not really working out for you.
Yeah. And it's like these community driven missions. And I really feel like you need that, especially in an MMO. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
how I mean, you could have, I don't want to see it just be events and very narrated events. I'll say this, if I don't play really WoW anymore,
Mhm.
but I played, what was it? It was Battle for Azeroth, and they had the where you're fighting against AI as a team, but you're fighting against you know what I'm talking about, Warfronts.
Warfronts. What an almost
Warfronts
amazing
is the
idea.
exact, it's very similar in concept though when you think about it, right? Because they have territories, you're working as a team, there's no one else, you're pushing these territories, and the farther you push, the harder it gets, and you're trying to get to this last, you know, trying to get to like even farther in, right?
Hmm.
And you could do different stuff to help advance and all this, and usually like people who are a bit stronger are kind of leading and everything. It's very similar in concept, but one is done extremely well and the other is done extremely bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Before Helldivers, I didn't think that like player versus AI could be this like dynamic to a point where you, the player, get really invested in holding your ground and pushing territories and things like that. Outside of like a single player experience, like some kind of RTS, you know. But
Yeah.
in this case, it shows that you can have like this is kind of like a half MMO going on here. Where they completely cut
Yeah.
out any kind of PvP. It's purely PvE, but you still have all those PvP concepts of an MMO and world PvP. And I think it's really taken to like the extreme, just minus the other players. It's super cool. I would love if they did something like that with like how World of Warcraft screwed up Warfronts. But can you imagine if Warfronts were actually like yeah, like this time the Horde won more Warfronts or like got like a higher score overall than the Alliance in their Warfronts. So now this zone just belongs to the Horde. The Horde has quests here. The Alliance doesn't. They kind of did that with Warfronts, but not nearly
Kind
enough.
of.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
was there, but barely. Like you got like 2 quests and they weren't worth doing.
Do you think it's the instanced aspect of it? By instance, I mean like,
Yeah,
it's
you
you're
go into a
inside this
phase.
little bubble that it's happening in, and it's not actually affecting the world, even though I understand it affects the world and that you control the war front and when you can do quests there or whatever. But it's not doesn't really feel like you're in the world anymore. You're in an instanced event,
Dude,
like
honestly,
a mini
yeah.
game.
I see what you mean because if we look at because that already was a thing. That was in WoW Classic. Where,
Yeah.
if the Alliance is on top of this town killing all the quest givers and spawn killing the flight path guy, you're not gonna be able to quest there. Like as a horde player.
Yeah.
You can't do the quests. The Alliance are gonna spawn camp your corpse and they're gonna kill the quest givers. But if the horde reclaim it, like they fight back, they kill the Alliance players in that town, now you can quest there again. It was literally that simple. It wasn't even like I believe it was intentional, right? Because like they could have made invincible NPCs, but they didn't. They made quest givers
Hmm.
killable and stuff. And I love that because yeah, it created that organic experience that I think Warfronts were trying to do, but didn't work. That organic feeling
Man,
of
maybe
taking
that's it.
territory and losing territory. It was literally just trusting in the players to do that for them. They did not have to manage Jack to make some really amazing like fights over territory. I thought that was awesome. But the thing
I'm
is,
gonna be honest. I think these implications could be huge. Go ahead, continue,
I
continue.
agree. I was gonna say, but like the thing is, that always leads to people complaining, right? That like, oh, I want to quest, I can't quest. These guys are killing me. Oh no! And now they're corpse camping me. It's like, dude, I don't know, something about that. We're total masochists about this kind of stuff because I think it's so cool. Like, I would just leave at that point, right? Like, if I can't get Horde to gather up and fight against, the Alliance taking over the town, I'm just gonna leave and go do something else. But people get
Yeah.
really mad about that kind of stuff. Where if you get in the
Complainers
way
are
of
the
their single
loudest.
player experience, yeah, you're right. I think it's a very loud. I don't know, people just I think people in general do not like world PvP in that sense, taking over territories. But then you look at Helldivers and it worked out great. So like it's interesting. I mean, maybe just because in Helldivers you know what you're getting yourself into compared to an MMO, it might not be everyone's first priority to fight for your continent, fight for land. That might not what people have in mind when they go into a game like World of Warcraft. Compared to Helldivers, they're prepared to lose land and take it back, and the game's kind of made around that, right? So it's not as frustrating for some people.
You could isolate it though. Like it doesn't have to be all of Runeterra is constantly like Noxus and Demacia and they're constantly bad. I don't think that it needs to be that. You could isolate it to like Acathia, where the void is, where okay, in that area, it's a constant battle and a constant war. And it's almost like pretty much like Helldivers, where you're advancing and you push, you can gain resources or whatever, and you have your little bases that you can build out and
Mhm.
then you could do the same thing in the Freljord. Other examples where it doesn't really matter, but
I mean, like, yeah, you
I
can just
like
imagine, like,
just
with what's happening in Song of Nunu, the corrupted ice, right? You can work
yeah,
with that however you want. The Watchers seeping out and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, but it would need to be in the world. It can't be
Yeah,
instance. I wonder if they're gonna do that. Are they going? Do you think they'll have instance content? There's an example of an MMO New World that doesn't have instance content at all, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even the dungeons in New World are not instanced, if I remember right. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, that's kind of tough. Not like non-instanced dungeons, but then again, I'm always thinking about like the traditional sense of an MMO. We don't know what the heck this MMO is even going to be yet. But I always think
Mm-hmm.
like in the traditional sense, I guess it would kind of suck if like, let's say it's more like of an organic MMO where you actually have to gather your group, get to that dungeon, and get going with it with your full group. If I go in there and everything's already dead, I'd be kind of annoyed. I mean, like, you just like sit there and wait it out, or go do a different dungeon, you know. But why? Like, why not just have it instanced in that case? Because I just don't see like the
Yeah,
benefit of it not being instanced. Like I don't see the
I
the
think set
immersion or the
stories.
fun of it. Hmm.
Set stories should be instance where it's like a dungeon is a very set story. There's a linear path. You're kind of going through it. Not they're not
Yeah.
all linear, but most of them are pretty linear in story, and it's like a story that you're experiencing. I could see that being instant. I would like to see something that's non-instance. Especially, I don't think there's going to be the faction divide in Runeterra. I
Yeah,
don't
I
see it
doubt it.
happening. There's not going to be, yeah, there's not going to be a horde and alliance kind of thing. There'll
Hmm.
be some, like, I think there'll still be that pride of like where you're from, and
Yeah.
there'll be some factors that affect you because of that. For example, if you create a Demacian character, you cannot be a Noxus. But
Yeah.
I want to see like something in the world that's alive that players can affect. And I feel like Helldivers did it really well, where you actually are making changes, and then they could emulate that in some areas within Runeterra. You can do that with the Shadow Isles, where there's an island, there's like parts of Bilgewater that are constantly having whatever harrowings. In Acathia, you can be fighting the Voidlings. In Freljord, like you were talking about the corrupted dark ice animals and stuff like that.
Hmm.
In Demacia, you could be fighting the Mage Seekers. I don't really know about that one.
Yeah, as an Oxian, dude, get in there. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to
Yeah,
be
see,
some
that's the
change in the
thing.
world.
Dude. Yeah, I know. And the thing is, like, I feel like the more we talk about Demacia and Noxus, the more I wonder if it's yeah, like what if they go the really soft route? That would bother me so much. Where if you're Demacian, you go into Noxus. Technically, you can go into Noxus, but just like NPCs have different dialogue for hating you or something. I feel
Oh,
like I
like
wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that, and it would upset me very much. I want to be
you're talking
killed.
about, like how you're the when you make a death knight, you walk through your main city, and like you're just walking through, and everyone's like, no one likes you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would just be like that. I can see them doing that, and I would not like it. I hope they don't go too soft with in terms of Demacia Noxus and how they interact in the open world. Because
Yeah, I would like not to see that either.
yeah, in a
I think
perfect world, we
if
kill
there's
each
certain
other and we
things,
take over territories. I would love that,
yeah,
but I don't know how possible that is.
it depends how big. I feel like we're limiting our scope to the technology that we know, which is from the games that we've played.
That's true.
If you make a server big enough, you can have that Demacia Noxus conflict along with all this other stuff all going on within the same world. The thing that the problem is, like we're saying, okay, all of this we want like the Helldivers type thing going on in Acathia and in the Freljord, and we want the Noxus Demacia battle going on, and we
Yeah,
want everyone's,
yeah,
yeah,
and
and
I
like
I
all
also
this
want
stuff's
I
happening.
want Aurelion Sol constantly looming over Shurima. I just want him to be like 4K ultra particle effects constantly going off. Please,
Yes,
just an
yeah, not
entire like
just like
galaxy in his
a
hand.
skybox
Yeah, yeah. No, I want him to be like a full 3D
fully
model.
rendered.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Please, and like you can turn the graphics down to like one. For like your potato computer, he'll still be full graphics all the time.
Yeah. I would like every single star to emulate light. And so when Aurelion Sol is flying over certain areas, it actually casts a shadow. So if
Yeah,
you're
yeah. Every
fishing
individual
with
star.
every water particle effect going on, and you catch that fish, the shadow of Aurelian Soul will be cast onto the fish.
Yes, yes, but I won't be fishing because obviously there's going to be me and 100 other players doing some Noxus versus Demacia type deal to take over that area.
You brought it back. You brought it into Shurima too, bro. It's not everywhere. Man, everywhere
we're
we go,
claiming this desert corner. All right,
everywhere. Why are you guys
that's the
fighting here?
Noxus way. Come on, dude. That's some classic Noxian action. If I'm not taking over
So,
Shadimo, what am I doing?
so here's what I want to say though. This is my main point with the Hellfire or Hellspawn or whatever it's called. Helldivers. The
Mhm.
main things that I wanted to touch on is, first of all, the world is changing, and it's changing in the world, not in the instance. Number two, the player housing effect, the player effect of not feeling like you're this super all-star and that you're one part of a very large like group. You're
Yeah.
not this superhero. You're not a champion. You're a hell diver, and there's a bunch of people diving too, and that's it. Like you're not. No one's talking to you like, "Wow, you're great." They're like, "Yeah, we're go kill some stuff." You're a regular guy.
Yeah, yeah. Don't go alone or else you're dead because you're one guy.
Yes. And number three, I wanted to look. So in Helldivers, you kind of have this ship that's almost like a player housing for you, where you use that to go to the different planets and stuff.
Mhm.
What if player housing? I see. I feel like that would be hard. I would think so. It's tough to say where your player housing is in the world, and then everyone has a player house in the world. I would personally love to see that, where you have 1,000 players in Demacia right now, and each of them have a house, like a place in Demacia. I
Yeah,
think that's awesome.
I agree. Like
But
I said
then,
before, I still think Final Fantasy 14 did that perfectly. Limited housing,
yeah,
people have to fight for it. You can sell your home to someone else, sell that plot of land that you own. I think it's so cool how they did it in that game. Like I would not change a
yeah.
thing about how they did that.
So that's how you would put. So the way I was going was like maybe you could have a housing that's kind of mobile in a sense. Like maybe it's something that isn't just this stagnant place that like the ship, right? The ship's flying around.
Hmm.
Maybe we could think of something in Runeterra that's in a similar sense where your house isn't taking up space when you're offline, but it's there always when you're online and moves around in a sense. But at the same time, the only way I could think of it is using like Yordle pathways to have a home in some place in the spirit realm, and that's just too much of a stretch. So
Yeah, I don't
maybe
know.
that is the right move.
I
Your
personally
Final
like,
Fantasy strategy.
yeah, dude. I like having that sense of commitment. Like you live in Demacia. That's your home. You chose built your house in Demacia. So you live in Demacia. Like you can be from the Freljord, have your home in Shurima. You know? That just means you started off in the Freljord, now your home is Shurima. That's where you built your house. I really like that. That sense of like it just adds more to like your RP, I think, to your character, some depth in terms of what you call home. I like that idea personally, rather than just being a
Yeah, yeah, I'm
nomad
with you on
and just
that.
traveling everywhere with your home on your back. I mean, I guess that could also be an option. You could have both. Maybe like your traveling home just is not as big if you choose to go that route. But
Hmm.
I personally just like the stationary home more.
Man, I do think that you need to have player housing. It has
Yeah,
to be a thing, and you have to be able to show
regardless.
it off. Yeah.
Mhm. It just adds so much customization. It adds so many more things to go out and get in the open world and instance content and literally every form of content. You can tie player housing into it. I always think of like killing a raid boss and mounting his head on your wall. I still think that's one of the coolest ideas ever. And just I don't know,
Yeah,
there's like a billion
I'm
things you
with
can
you
do
on
with player
that.
housing. It opens so much it adds value to every piece of content and it just adds so much more to do. I love it. It's always good in any MMO regardless.
That's a must.
Yeah.
100% that's a must. I feel like Final Fantasy's direction is the way that they will end up going, and
Yeah, I
it's
hope so.
between either from yeah, for me it's either that or actual player housing that's not even instanced like it's there. Like
Mhm.
you know how you guys have different instances of like you walk in as a player
Yeah.
housing area that's instanced.
Yeah.
I They could do that and have one for, each place, like one for Demacia, one for
Yeah.
Noxus, one for Shurima.
Hmm.
Or they could actually have it in the world. Those are the only two options I can see.
Wow. But the problem is, if they actually have it in the world, housing would become a serious issue because this is a Riot MMO. This MMO is going to be popping, especially at the beginning. So,
Yeah.
like, like I hope Demacia does not end up becoming like 100,000 square feet long, you know, just to fill up all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
homes.
Yeah,
And like, there's
you
always the
can't make
apartments
it.
too, and I like that. The apartments are
Yeah,
instanced, you go up to your room.
the apartments being instance is good too.
Yeah, I
You
love
can't
that.
make it so big that it's impossible to travel. So I understand that. Like but you want the running to be slow and you want travel to be slow, but then if you make it too big, you have to increase travel because no one's gonna run through spend the day just running to the other side of Demacia.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just because like the residential district is like a billion houses.
It's tough to balance. That's really tough to balance the scope in terms of size, the actual size of the world, and then traveling around the world. Like I want the world to be massive,
Hmm.
but at the same time, yeah, you do have to travel, but then I don't want travel to be fast. Like I want travel to be almost like classic WoW. We're traveling, yeah, if you want to go from one side of the map to the other, that's a significant thing. It's
Yeah,
not just like hop on this and then you're there.
yeah.
Or
I,
take
I
this
was literally, I was gonna
portal.
say the same exact thing where I was like, I don't. I still think that vanilla classic World of Warcraft from 2004 is like lightning in a bottle. Like I'd swear they
Mhm.
got really lucky with that. Those developers, I wonder how intentional everything is because the running speed was perfect, which is insanely important, right? The
Mhm.
scale of things like mountains, of enemies, of like just grassy plains of the path, everything was scaled perfectly to where you felt like you were traveling a large distance. I feel like that's what matters more is that it feels like you're traveling rather than just
Did
you're
they
going from
increase
point
the
A to
run
point
speed
B.
too?
Yeah, they increased it a lot. I think you go like freaking twice as fast now.
Is
Like
that
just
why,
base
man?
run
I feel
speed.
like
Yeah,
the
they increased
same
it a lot.
zone, like the same zone from classic WoW to retail WoW, the classic WoW one feels bigger. Like genuinely, I can't get past in my head. I'm like, wow, why does it feel so much bigger? Like, why does this uh little area I always freaking loved Mulgore, you know that.
Dude, yeah. No,
And
Mulgore is
for some
great.
reason, Mulgore feels massive. It
It
feels
is.
massive in
It's the
classic
run
WoW. And
speed.
it's literally the exact same pixel density. It's like the same, there's no
Yeah.
change. So why does it feel so big? Why does this harpy freaking town over here that I have to go kill all these harpies feel huge?
Yeah,
But then
dude,
when
just
I
the
go into
time it takes
retail,
to
wow, it
travel.
feels so tiny. I think the run speed maybe is,
I think it's a
man,
big
one
part of it.
little, that's crazy that just the little knob twisted a little bit too far and it all falls apart.
Dude, yeah, really. Cause that world was made for that run speed. Like I'm also sure that was like at least partly intentional of like them testing out, okay, how long does it take us to run from one side of the barrens to the other, which is like this like large deserty landscape. Like, does it take too long? Does it get boring? Does it stay interesting? Do you see different types of enemies as you run by? Does it feel like the landscape's changing as you run through it? Like there's a lot that goes into the feeling of not just okay, I need to get to this place. It's the feeling of like I need to travel. I need to
Yeah.
get through this world to get to that place. And that's like there's so much that comes into that, dude. It's crazy. I swear I don't know how the heck Classic WoW did it, but they did it so perfectly.
I'm going to make a huge statement right now. Big. This is going to be big. This is like my where my head is at.
Ooh, hit me with it.
How big I actually want the world to be. I know I'm saying like, there's they have to compensate for travel and all that. Okay. Look at, for example, Shurima
Yeah.
on the map. I would want Shurima by itself to be the size of Kalimdor.
I knew
I
you were
want
gonna
it to
say
be
that. That's
so,
insane.
yeah,
That's
I don't
wild.
not including Targon, not including Ishtal, not including Akathia. I don't want the whole thing to be the size of Kalimdor. I want just Shurima to be the size of Kalimdor. I want it to be so big that if someone's in Shurima and the other person is in Freljord and the person says, "Can we quest together?" The other person in Shurima says, I mean, maybe tomorrow. I will try to like find a way to get to you and we can quest together tomorrow. But
Yeah. And,
I'm not gonna waste the whole afternoon so we could quest right now. By the time I get there, like you said you're only playing for what? You said another hour? There's no way I'm gonna make it to you in time for us to do anything. By the time I get there, you're gonna have like 10 minutes left.
I
That's
might
how
make it to
big
this
I
town and
want the
I'll
world
log
to
off
be.
there for the night. And I'll be about like halfway there if I'm lucky. If I don't
Yeah.
die on the way there because I'm traveling by myself.
Yes. That's how that's I realize that that's very like I think we're alone in that. I think a lot of people are gonna say,
Yeah,
no, that's too
I think
much. I want to
so too.
do the
But
quest with
God,
my friends. And
and you know what?
listen, you cannot listen to the loudest people. Maybe we're loud though. Who knows?
I, I like
Look,
to
I
think I'm
think
loud.
complainers are the loudest.
Yeah, no, I agree. Always the loudest people in any MMO community. The loudest people are the people who aren't happy with the game, right? The people who want the game to change. But
Hmm.
you need to consider the people who are not talking on Reddit or not talking on the forums or Twitter because they're too busy playing the game. You know,
Exactly.
there's
The people who are happy
like,
with the game never say anything because they're
dude,
busy.
yeah,
They're enjoying the game.
I genuinely believe that there are still to this day more people that play and enjoy retail WoW more than anything else they've put out, right? Like,
Yeah.
I still think there are plenty of people playing Dragonflight, and there are plenty of people playing the next expansion, The War Within, but they're not going to be like talking about the game anywhere really. They're going to get off work at 5 p.m., come home and play WoW at 6 with their raid.
Yeah.
With the raid group, and that's it, dude. That's how they enjoy WoW. And I think that's true for a lot of people in a lot of MMOs. I think the same is definitely true for Final Fantasy 14. That game has a lot of people who play that game single player, and they'll just silently enjoy the game and never say anything about it.
Yeah. They won't even watch a YouTube video on it. They're just playing the
Yeah,
game. They are
I think
pleasantly
that's most
surprised when they
people.
log on and it's an expansion. They're
Yeah,
like, what? Oh,
yeah.
I got
Actually,
this. What?
like they'll hear the announcement on the news when they like the little like news tab when they boot up the
Yeah.
game.
The
You got the little
BattleNet
launcher.
app when they
Yeah,
open it
yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Final Fantasy 14 launcher, they'll open up, they'll be like, oh, new expansion coming out. That's cool. Yeah,
They log in,
I'll
they talk to the
pre-order
rest of
that.
their raid group. You guys hear about the expansion? Yeah, we all saw it on the BattleNet launcher. It's crazy.
Dude, I genuinely believe there's like I believe majority of people are like that. They're not on YouTube watching, like whoever talk for like 60 minutes about the new warrior class updates. All right. They're talking about how the game is dead. They're playing the game. I think even for the Riot MMO, that's going to be true, right? Most people are not going to be listening to us. They'll
Yeah.
be playing the Riot MMO. Heck, I won't be listening to us. I'm going to be playing the Riot MMO. All right.
Yeah. Exactly. There's 10 people who got to travel from Shurima to Freljord. 9 people are going to be enjoying that journey. There's one person that's going to log on and complain about it. The other 9 people are never going to say anything. That's what you have to
Agreed.
realize. Look where Blizzard ended up. Blizzard, the whole thing was that they just catered constantly to the naggers and people who just constantly said, "Oh, I want this. Oh, I want that. I want to be
Yeah.
special. Everyone needs to be special, and we need to be able to travel everywhere as fast as freaking possible."
Yeah. And now the game is just
And
kind of
now
this
look.
like brain dead grind fest of just like most people. I honestly have a large majority of people are just collectors, right? Like
Mhm.
they'll do old world content, or they'll run like the latest dungeons on like normal difficulty or heroic. They'll do like Mythic
They're
Zero.
watching
They'll do
TV
like Mythic
while they're doing
2s.
all this.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Right. I think most people nowadays are really casual with World of Warcraft. And that's just kind of how the game's turned into this like still end game focused, still like kind of competitive, but also easily like a bit too easily accessible, to where you're just clicking
Yeah.
your buttons, get into the dungeon instance, do your abilities, get out, do it again. It becomes a little less exciting after like the second expansion that you play through, because you just realize that rhythm that the game has turned into, that's kind of like homogenized into over years of criticism.
Mhm.
So it's just become a lot less fun after that, sadly. So I hope Rise Operate to take risks like that. Like dude, even just like, okay, I want Shurima. Like I love the idea of Shurima being massive and also just being a freaking plain desert a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I think like enemy variety will help keep it fresh as you're traveling. There's gonna be different areas of Shurima They're going to have stronger enemies than others. You might see some giant freaking bug monster or something just like traveling across the sands off in the distance, and you can go fight that and die if you want. Like, unless
Yeah.
you get like 20 people together, you're not going to kill it. That kind of stuff.
I
Like,
want an
you can
Oasis to
fill
feel
it
like
up
an
with stuff.
Oasis.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I want to have some interesting stuff in it, stuff that'll keep you interested as you travel, but I still want it to not be full. I want that. I want it to be the freaking
Yeah.
desert, dude. And I think, okay, is it just me, or does it suck how much recent WoW, their zones are so dense compared to
Yeah,
classic
everything is
WoW?
packed in
Yeah,
tightly as
dude.
possible. I'm just trying to fit every corner. There's a little cave there. I gotta put something
Yeah.
in it, and leading
Seriously,
up to the
even like
cave, there's gotta
trees
be
and
something on
stuff.
the outside.
Yeah,
There's
man,
this
there's
bridge, and
so
we gotta
much.
use this bridge for something.
It's like, dude,
Because
like
it
I
can't
get
just
like
be a
sensory
bridge.
overload. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love me some barrens. All right,
There's
I
a
love the
tornado, but it's
barrens.
not
It's
just a tornado.
orange. They got orange
Yeah.
rocks. They got yellow grass, and then they got some like antelope creatures running across it. It's so good. My God, I love it. I love me just some like, I can see what's going on so easily. It's so clear and simple what's on my screen. All right, and what I'm running through. I hope Riot does that. I hope Riot's not afraid to like even just like the plains between Demacia and Noxus. I want those to just be some nice green plains. Keep it so
Yeah.
simple. Keep it so humble. Just so nice. Just something I can easily
Not
look
ev-
at and run across and enjoy the run across those plains. God damn. That's all I ask for in terms of zones. Keep it nice and simple and pretty.
Not everything needs something.
Yeah, dude.
That's
So
all we're
that way,
saying.
when you do have something, it's big, it's noticeable. You know, I'm not passing from like insanely bright, crazy like fairy forest to like red hot lava magma burning red orange everywhere lava area. You know, that
Yeah.
way when you have intense
It shouldn't
stuff,
be
it
a
shows, it
jarring
stands out.
transition.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that too. Transitions between zones are very important. But I was just thinking, like, when you do have a jarring area, it's gonna show compared to your
Yeah.
more plain and simple areas. You know what I mean? You need some zones to stand out. You need some zones to blend in. I think most of your zones should just like blend in a little bit and just be an enjoyable thing to look at instead of like this freaking theme park of an area.
Man, I am so copiumed out on the Riot MMO and how much I believe that they actually know what they're
I
doing, and
know,
they
me
have
too.
the right idea. Like when so go back to the Riot MMO website, the MMO recruiting website.
Mm-hmm.
We talked last time about this initial image, right? It shows this the main character in the main image, the only image we have of we're making an MMO is a random person with literally nothing on. Like they look like a peasant. You know, they're just
Yeah.
like a starting adventure. They have nothing, and the people are like they're just basic. They're
Yep.
so basic, which is they're not. It's not. And remember, we said they could have gone any way. They could have had like someone's perched on top about to drop down into Demacia, and or you fighting a freaking dragon. At this point, they're dragon crazy. Dragons are everywhere, right? They're just freaking.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Every day I look, Runeterra is getting a new dragon now. Could have been like that, but instead they chose
I was like,
this simple adventure.
yeah,
And I'm like,
dude.
okay, they understand it. And then if you scroll down, you never see anyone that's like a hero.
Oh
You know, you look
yeah.
at the adventurers wanted. There's just a bunch of people looking at the billboard, looking at the different bounties. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's it.
Yeah.
Like they're just looking for bounties, and everyone's just standing around, and there's no one that's she's not standing over Goliath, you know, or standing over like
She's not killing gods.
some giant serpent. Yeah, she just
Yeah.
everyone's just there,
That's just
and it looks like maybe these two
swashbuckling.
are grouping up with her on that kill. Who knows? In the back, like the big guy with the little guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like that group. That's a cool group. I'm a fan.
Yeah. That looks like they might be forming a party because she can't kill that by herself. And then even you scroll down here, these guys were not prepared. Like this is a party of 4 losing. Like that guy in the front was the tank.
Yeah.
The healer is gone. Like that guy's mid sprint, kicking up snow. I mean, the tank's gonna die for sure.
Oh,
He
he's already
has
gone.
aggro. Yeah, it's
He
over.
has
Like
aggro.
The hunter as a usual hunter doesn't even have an arrow locked. You know,
Yeah,
is
that's
hunt
rough.
hard. That's gonna be expected.
Yeah, I love that this picture specifically of like the these guys clearly in like the Freljord hunting or maybe being hunted by this giant like yeti looking beast. Maybe it's like a troll would be my guess looking at him with like the mane and the beard being like a orangish color. I would think it's a troll. Well,
Yeah, it's
man,
definitely a troll. Trolls
yeah,
are huge in Freljord. They're not. They're like that. That is the actual size.
yeah, that's terrifying, dude. And the tusks. Oh
Yeah.
my god, that's so cool. I'm guessing the tusks are just like part of his helmet, but I love that. Among on. But either way, I love how in this scene, even in this is like by far the most action packed like image they have out of the three. And even then, it's
Hmm.
like this is some random no name Yeti, just a creature native to the Freljord, fighting some random no name guys that are clearly
Yes.
outmatched.
Yeah.
Like everything about this scene just feels like some day to day dangers that they face in their life, and that's what I hope the MMO becomes. Is that we're
Exact.
gonna see this kind of like day to day, just this is life in the Freljord. You know, we're not gonna be like save us, champion from the Watchers. They're breaking out right now. Giant evil tentacly monsters. No, no. Let me just fight a Yeti. Let me help out this little village with their monster problems, okay? Before we worry about some freaking all-encompassing darkness.
That's exactly you said exactly what I thought when I saw this image, and that's exactly how I feel about all these images. That no one's a superhero, and that's another reason why I brought up the Helldivers game is because in there, no one's a superhero. No
Yeah.
one's at top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's basic, and everyone's just like, yeah, you're a soldier, and that's it, and that's fine.
Yup. And more than anything, Helldivers makes me happy just because of the fact that it makes everyone else happy. That they want that experience. Do
Yeah,
people maybe people are a little bit of masochists like us. They want to lose some fights, all right? They want to get just completely stomped and have their planet lost forever. Something about that, dude, an open world experience where you're playing with other people in real time, that can't be matched for me. And I think,
yeah, it doesn't always work out. Like
yeah, dude,
they
it
made
doesn't
there's a
always work
big
out.
problem. I was scrolling. I saw a video like they were fighting on this front one of the front planets,
Hmm.
and he was like looking at the basically the other players instead of pushing forward on that front planet are literally just sitting back on the back planets where it's safer. You know,
Yeah.
and so yeah, like stuff like that's gonna happen where you need to start being like, guys, we need to do this or we need to
Yeah, he's
push
like
forward over here or
proactive.
whatever. And that's yeah. Even it's because stuff's not working out and it's not contained in like a perfect little bubble of let's skip over here and then let's do this and everything. You never know what's gonna happen. And because you're depending on other players, you're always gonna have weak links. And weak
Hmm.
links
Yeah,
are not a bad thing. They are a
I
bad thing,
completely
but
agree.
they're not like a
They're
bad thing where you want to
organic and they feel
remove. You want to,
natural, and it makes it all the more
yeah,
rewarding when you actually band together and you're like, we actually did it, guys. We actually
wow, I've got
somehow
it.
brought ourselves together and we took over this planet. That's amazing.
I've got it.
What?
Kong, I've got it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Do not strengthen weak links. The game should not try to strengthen or compensate for a player's weaknesses. If a player is bad, it should show that they're bad. And if a character has weaknesses, it should have weaknesses. Like the Riot should not try to compensate or make things easier or shrink the gap between a really good player and a really bad player. If a player is really bad, it's because they're really bad, and that's okay. And it shouldn't be like trying to make the game easier. Say this player can uh like more closely align with even a better player, where a better player can't be that much better, because then you're just simplifying the game too much. The game should be hard, and a bad player should always be noticeably bad, and they're gonna get shit for it, and that's okay.
Dude, agree. Agree. There should be, of course, if you're bad at the game, that doesn't mean you can't play the game. All right. I'm sure there's gonna be some like easier stuff for you. Like heck, there's gonna be certain quests that are not gonna be as hard as others. You know? But can you go into the dungeon at cap level and not know how to use your abilities? No. That dungeon has one difficulty. If you're not good enough for it, get out of the group. I like that because accomplishments in MMOs are different from accomplishments in any other game. When a player accomplishes something, it's actively able to be recognized by other people. You know,
Hmm.
if somebody has, like the freaking what's it called, the black Silithid mount, right? From
Yeah,
Silithus, from the like War of
yeah,
Encourage. That was an
man,
exclusive
that's
mount
great.
from
That
like
would be crazy.
2006, right? Yeah, and what you
Yeah.
had to do to get that mount was insane. What you had to do was
Hmm.
taking hours upon hours of your life and the
You
hours
need
of
people to
like
help you
20 other
too.
people. Yeah, your guild actively had to help you, and they had to ask for nothing in return other than you get to ring the gong and you get the awesome mount that they do not have, but
Yeah,
they gave tens of hours of their life to make sure you got it. That
yeah,
is insane to me. But there was also no easy way of getting it. There was only one way to get that mount, and you had to be damn good at the game to get it. Well, also, even then, it wasn't so much as good as what you just had to be crazy enough to go for it. You had to dump
yeah,
so many hours
and
into that.
invest enough
And you,
time.
yeah,
Yes.
you had to have the knowledge to complete the quest line, which was insanely obscure, especially at the time, because, the internet was different back then. But, like, dude, everything about that is one of my favorite things in any MMO ever. It was insanely hard to get. Very few people have it. And that's what made it special. Nobody could just go get it. There was no difficulty slider. There was nothing like that. You just either got it or you didn't. If you were not good
Man,
enough to get good at the game. And I think
I
that
could tell you
creates some
exactly what would
serious
happen.
investment in any MMO. That
It
creates
does.
serious actually caring about the game. Achievements
I could
actually
tell you
matter.
exactly what would happen though.
Hmm.
If you did that today, people would say it's not fair that the rest of the guild, people who invested the time, aren't getting rewarded for that. And they would say also it's just a time sink. It's way too much time invested in just killing something over and over again. It's
Mhm.
like monotonous. Those are the kind of
Yep.
complaints. But the people that are complaining about it just don't do it.
Just don't do it,
Just
dude.
don't do it. There's going to be people that are enjoying it. They're not going to be complaining
Yeah.
to you. That's a
Yeah.
that I hope. I really hope that they see that there's going to be people complaining, but you need to like ratio it, like a 3-to-1 ratio. That every three complaints is worth one good comment about it. Something like that, because way more people are going to log on and complain than are no almost no one. I've never logged on and said this was great. I never logged on and said this is shit either.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
but
agree.
that's what I'm saying. Like most people who log on are going to say they're going to go voice problems and then go voice what they're upset about. No one, if someone's enjoying something, they're not going to sit there and go review it.
Hmm. Oh man, dude, yeah, no, just thinking about that, there was so many complaints about that quest line, and I still think everything about it was so good. Like, do you
It
know
was.
that one part of the quest line where I think it's like you have to guide this one centaur looking dude through like the Moonglade or whatever the heck. It's some like night
Yeah.
elf looking area where you're helping out this like dryad looking guy. And
Yeah. Yeah.
as an alliance player, like you have to like guide him through there, and then you have to fight him at some point, I think, or you fight like some like satyr at the end, and the
Hmm.
horde can just come in and ruin the whole thing.
Yeah.
They can just kill the
Yes.
satyr way too fast before like he like completes like the quest for you and everything. They could just go in and kill the satyr, and then you're screwed. You have to wait like I forget how many hours before it resets. And I love
I
that
don't
kind of
like
stuff
the
because you know what that
mechanic.
meant?
I,
That
I,
meant alliance guilds or horde guilds, like vice versa. And alliance guilds would have to hire other alliance players to bring them in to fight off the horde long
yeah.
enough so that they could complete the quest. That kind of
I'll
stuff you
say
can't
this.
make up, dude. That's so special. And it was because there was no other way of doing it. There was only one way to get that mount, man. So special.
I don't like the mechanic, but I like what the mechanic caused.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't want it to. like I like the after effect of the mechanic. I would like to see like a better way of to be done other than they can just come in and kill the guy too fast and it bugs it. It's like
Yeah,
clearly
it
a
was a
bug,
bug.
there
It
wasn't.
was clearly a
Yeah,
bug.
yeah. Hopefully, I want to see that emulated where it's not a bug.
Yeah,
Obviously,
that's what I'm saying too. Like obviously, like
yeah,
a lot of very special stuff in classic WoW was actually oversights or bugs of some kind. But if you can do that kind of stuff intentionally, kind of like how Helldivers is doing it now, you'd see how magical it can be. And how many experiences you still see people talking about like 20 years later from classic WoW. And that's because of those organic experiences that you can't get by just lowering the difficulty of the dungeon or of the raid or of this insane quest line.
yeah.
I
And
genuinely think only
Helldivers is
having one
like that,
difficulty
where
does a
it's
lot. It does a lot for the MMO,
yeah.
genuinely.
Helldivers, I think only has there's only one difficulty. It is what it is,
Yeah, it is what it
but
is.
it's just
If you lose,
the
you lose.
you don't know. Like you're logging on, you don't know what you're going to be experiencing, and I feel like that's also something that's compelling. When you don't know
Yeah.
exactly what's going to happen, you don't know exactly how the enemy's going to be. It's unknown. I mean, that's one thing that I like raiding and I like dungeons, but I've always been PvP because I like not knowing what's going to happen.
Me
I like not
too.
knowing what I'm going to be facing, and I like not knowing what I have to do exactly to win. I
Hmm.
like raiding too, but I've always been I feel like raiding I was very much like I just have to learn how the mechanics. I have to learn what I have to do, and then I just have to execute on it. I need to learn my class, get my gear, and then once I know the mechanics, there's no way I can lose.
Yeah, man.
I felt like
The
PvP, there's always a chance constantly that I could lose.
yeah, because the other person is just as capable of winning as you are, unlike in PvE, where the
Yeah,
intention is that you win. PvP, your goal is to win, but that's not the intention of the devs. It's
exactly.
very different, and that's why I love World PvP too, so much too. I agree that it's just you can have these epic battles and lose completely, but those are also some of my like favorite memories. Is losing horribly, but just thinking about how insanely cool that fight was. Like, I think people take World PvP the wrong way a lot because most of the time people think of World PvP, especially in World of Warcraft, they think of just getting corpse camped, right, by like some rogue. But
Yeah,
like, if you actively World PvP, there's a very big difference between passive World PvP and active World PvP, right? Where you are going out of your way to find other people who are actively World PvPing and getting involved in that community is so cool. It's easily my favorite part of retail WoW, which is shocking because it's such a small community, but that community is very tight knit and very very cool. Because well, when you get a group of like 40 players together, because like the other faction is camping this town or camping this flight path for your faction for your fellow players is trying to level, you get in there with
mhm.
your big group flying down from the sky or whatever the heck, however the heck you sneak in there and fight your way through some other army of other players. Oh man. There's still to this day nothing else like that, and that can only happen in an MMO. So that's why I'm hoping Riot does some sense of like Noxus Demacia, but I don't think it's gonna happen. It's just Helldivers, I think, makes it more possible than it was before. But I'm sure they've already made their decision on this, right? This is like a pretty deep mechanical decision for MMO if they're gonna have factions or not. I
Yeah,
don't think they're gonna have any kind of world PvP, but man, would I hope so. And I think Helldivers proves that there's some sense of like people are okay to lose things because then it makes it meaningful.
man, that's actually a really good point. Sometimes the threat of losing something is what makes it valuable.
Yeah, dude. That's how I
Yeah,
feel. And MMOs can do that because you're in this world with other people. There's only one of this thing in this like, open world server, right? Things are limited, things are finite. So it's just, dude, just philosophically, MMOs are the coolest thing ever to me, especially in an
Hun-
open world server sense.
without a doubt. I think without a doubt, me and you specifically for sure, we're both MMO players.
Oh yeah.
100%. But that doesn't mean that there's not other stuff to look forward to till the Riot MMO, right? Because we're gonna get the name this year. That's not I'm not announcing the news. Okay, that's just speculation.
Mhm.
We're gonna get the name this year. We're gonna get a
Name
little
drop.
tidbit. We're gonna get a
Absolutely.
little snickerdoodle, a
Yeah, some
little
kind of like
sprinkle
cinematic
for
trailer,
sure.
maybe. Yeah,
I freaking hope so.
I
I
would love
doubt it though. I feel like it's gonna be like maybe a couple more images, maybe like a couple very like shots, and then
yeah. I think
maybe
there's
like
like
they'll
yeah, they
show
just
like one
released
of the
more
cities or
info.
something, like a little piece of a city or something like that, and then they'll give you the name. I think that's what we're gonna get this year. Then
Yeah,
next year, I think will be the cinematic and stuff, and maybe even the alpha.
dude.
Uh,
With how much Riot is spreading out in terms of like they're beyond just like League now. They're releasing all these
yeah,
titles with like the RPG on the way and everything like that. You think we're gonna start seeing some kind of like Riot like just announcement type of thing like like Nintendo has like Nintendo
talking
Directs,
about BlizzCon.
PlayStation has State of
Or
Play,
oh, you're
yeah,
talking about
Blizzard
that?
has
Yeah, they
BlizzCon.
should.
I
I
would
think they
love it
will.
because yeah, at this point they got so many games, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like people would genuinely tune into that kind of thing, especially once the MMO drops. Like, I could totally see them, showing off updates for the MMO, showing off updates for Legends of Runeterra, updates for League of
Project
Legends,
L, Project F.
Project F, dude, and like
Project
any
L
other
looks
games they plan on
cool.
announcing because they're obviously going to have more titles in the future. It seems like.
Yeah.
So and even just like showing off their like shows and stuff like with season 2 of Arcane, and they're definitely going to do more in the
Yeah.
television movie spotlight with how well Arcane is doing.
I
So
think so
I would
too.
love if they had some sort of like just dedicated to their own series and games to announce stuff. I would get so hyped for that.
Yeah, and I think you'll see maybe smaller titles too, like the Riot Forge titles. We do have Bandle Tale tomorrow. We've not mentioned that yet. I'm
Oh my
100% going
god,
to be
yeah.
bandling it up tomorrow. Okay, we
Oh
got
heck
Bandle
yeah.
Tale tomorrow. We got Project L, which has already have been like players have literally played it, which I think it's either going to be released. I feel like it'll be released really early next year, or I think it'll be a surprise release in the summertime or sometime either in the summer, in the summertime, late this year or early next year. And then we have Project F, right? That's an action RPG, which people are saying that there's speculation that it could be multiplayer. So that could be
Okay.
cool. It's an ARPG. I think that could be fun. That's in development. So all the like Project L, Project F, I think are farther off. We have Bandle Tale. I'd say Project L comes after that. Project F comes after that, and then I think the Riot MMO.
Ooh. No, yeah, I could definitely see
Yeah,
that timeline happening. And then who knows what the heck they're gonna like start working on in between now and then. Like we might see some other projects in the alphabet. Who knows?
and did they release a gameplay footage of Project F?
No way. Have they?
Hold on,
I still feel like we
hold
know
on,
very little about that game.
hold on. I'm gonna find out right now. It's. I wish they came out with the names. Like I'm gonna be weirded out when they announce like Project L. What's it called? Wait, G Affinity Esport? No, Project F. Man, but there's so many Project Fs. Riot Games Project F. Oh, there is a little bit of footage. What the heck? Is that?
Mhm.
Is there something like official from the League of Legends? Uh, League of Legends page?
Yeah, what the heck? I'm seeing stuff too of like random YouTube videos
Yeah,
or
like the
like
little bit.
yeah, some like early development footage.
Yeah, but I don't see anything official from them.
Yeah, that's the thing that's
Right. Yeah,
throwing me
it's
off
very
too.
limited. It's like a little thing. It looks like man, what's that? There's like a game, where you're playing it's top down third person where you're kind of adventuring together. A lot of games have done
There are a
it.
few
Final
games like
Fantasy's
that,
done
yeah.
like that.
I mean, like I just in general, like isometric titles are very popular these days, especially for like smaller
Yeah.
titles. But that, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so you
definitely
can
gonna be
look
that kind of vibe.
you can look it up. Everyone can look it up. You can literally see it's barely anything. There's
Yeah,
videos like obviously that are hours on it, I'm sure. But it's honestly maybe 4 seconds of actual footage
yeah,
of the game. So
yeah. Not really enough to
so
go
there
off
is
of. For all I
footage, but
know, that's
there's not.
Skylanders gameplay. I have no idea.
Exactly. This- it's the same image, the same little footage everywhere, but it's there. And then
It does
supposedly they could be
exist.
making a turn-based game, a 4X turn-based game.
Oh, like the
There's a
full-on
website
turn-based
that I really
RPG.
like. Yeah. There's a website that I really like, the RiotMMO. It has like 2 articles listed on it. I'll link those in the description for anyone interested in either of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Riot's growing. That's the thing. Riot, I feel like, is at the initial stage of growing, and it's gonna get to a point where, yeah, a big announcement, they could definitely do that. Especially when you got the MMO, you got League of Legends, you got Legends of Runeterra, you'll have Project L, which is definitely a game that can be carried for a long time, like a
Oh
fighter,
yeah.
like
Absolutely. Depending on
that's
how
gonna
that game
stick around for a
performs,
while.
yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
see some DLC characters, and luckily, thanks to League of Legends, they have a decent pool of characters to pick from for their DLC. So, to say the
exactly.
least. So
Yeah,
yeah,
ever
we're totally gonna
growing.
see updates. Yeah, yeah, we're absolutely gonna see updates in Project L. And heck, I like if freaking like Bethesda can do their own, like YouTube live stream of like their game announcements, Riot definitely can. Riot definitely has enough games lined up with like live service games that they're constantly gonna be
Yeah.
updating and releasing new patches of content for that they can totally do stuff like that. I would love it. Maybe once their catalog gets a little bigger, who knows?
Yeah, which I don't think is that far off. I feel like that's going to
Yeah,
happen quickly. I
I
wouldn't be
agree.
surprised if we start seeing an event like that next year.
Right? Like I totally think it's possible. At like the bare minimum, like once a year for big announcements.
It makes sense. You want your game, you want someone who's like, let's say I'm fully invested in MMO, that's all I play, and
Yeah.
I'm watching for the news in MMO. You want
Yeah.
me to see your other titles and your other projects and your other games so I can play those too. That's how you get someone
Yep.
invested in your ecosystem, you know? That's why Apple, every time they freaking announce a product, they're always like showing off their other products at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, people live for like companies live for that ecosystem. That's absolutely what Riot's going for, right? And they're doing a damn good job at it. Like
Mhm.
they're releasing a lot of content for a lot of different games, like releasing a lot of games, period. But it's all quality. It all has that Riot seal of approval that we know and love. So like,
Man.
I would easily, and I think a lot of people would easily watch a Riot Direct, is what I'll call it.
Yeah, the Riot. We've already named the MMO and their show for it. Riot
Yeah,
Direct
Riot
and
Direct.
Runeterra. What are we gonna call Project L?
Oh man, Riot
Runeterra Fighter.
Fighters. Riot.
Riot Fighters Z.
Riot Riot Fighters. Street Riot. Yo,
Street
you want some
Riot.
Street
Yeah,
Riot?
that actually is not a bad name.
Actually, yeah.
But it's gonna be something Runeterra. Yeah, it's not a bad name, but I don't think that's gonna be it either.
No,
It's
I
gonna
doubt
be
they're gonna do
something.
that. We'll
Yeah,
see. I mean, there should be a name drop soon, right? I can't believe we're this close to Project L dropping. We have not gotten a name yet.
I know.
That's
I don't even know
insane.
why they released the name. Like, I feel like that the name is something you pick really early, and now everyone knows it as Project L, and now we're
That's
all
the
gonna know this
problem.
one as Project F. Like, it's gonna be weird to me to get this name out of my head.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, honestly, I genuinely think that once the Riot title, like for the Riot MMO, once that title drops, we're still going to call it the Riot MMO. We've called it the
Yeah,
Riot MMO for so long now.
when they release Project X as the title, I'm gonna be like, come on,
Yeah.
just give me the name. Just give
Can
me the
you imagine they
name.
do a title drop and it's like, yeah, the next letter in the alphabet is here.
We're releasing the alpha for Project X. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. What are we doing?
Dude, yeah,
You
I
guys are
agree.
pulling a
I don't know
Twitter
how I
on me. You're
feel
just giving me
about
one
this.
letter.
I don't know how I feel about this marketing thing that they're doing. Yeah, with all like the project titles, because yeah, once Project L, if Project L gets a proper name, because genuinely at this point, I think they're better off just continuing to call it Project L. People will probably
I
look at
agree.
Project L and think, "Oh, League of Legends." That's what the L stands for, and they're
I
gonna move
agree.
on. Right?
Honestly, keep it.
Like
I thought that was the name. Like, I thought
me
that was
too.
it. Like, that was the name.
Yeah, until Project F. Yeah, I thought that was it too. I thought that was just called Project L, which honestly is not a bad name. Like,
No,
and at this point, it's stuck. So I feel like they have to commit to it. If they change the name up now, it's going to be confusing for a lot of people who aren't like really kept up to date.
I think we're gonna be confused. I have a feeling.
I think so too. I think we're going to be confused.
But hey, you playing Bandle tomorrow?
I'm playing Bandle tomorrow. You playing Bandle tomorrow?
I am playing Bandle tomorrow. I will see you in Bandle City.
Oh man. Well, whether you're a fan of the upcoming title Bandle or anticipation for Project L has filled you to the brim, I can assure you that our tankards are empty. So that's all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed this hour of us spewing nonsense about how cool it is to lose things in MMOs. Stay tuned for next week when we talk about how awesome Bandle is, and if Entgrove gets his collector's edition, we're totally making a tier list. Heck yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, we're doing that. Next week is the tier list. 100%. Okay, the tier list is next week for sure. And to stay up to date on the goings on for this podcast specifically, you can follow us at The Brazen Hydra on Twitter, where you can add us questions, suggest topics for us to talk about. And you can also find us at thebrazenhydra.com. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in the next one.